night, all night, all night, all night, yeah. All night, all night, all night, all night, yeah. All night, I just want you to turn me on. I just want you to turn me on. I'll keep going down. I just want you to turn me on. I just want you to turn me on. I'll keep going down. I'm falling, falling, falling. It's gonna be alright. We're gonna be alright. I'm falling, falling, falling. It's gonna be alright. We're gonna be alright. Oh, all night, all night. I'm just giving up. Just give it up. You just give it up. Tell me we'll be okay. I'm falling, falling, falling. It's gonna be alright. We're gonna be alright. I'm falling, falling, falling. It's gonna be alright. We're gonna be alright.
O'clock in the morning, you can get a pizza. You know, in South Africa, 4 o'clock, everybody's sleeping. 8 o'clock, the TV, you see like the lines, nothing. But in New York, man, I remember I was watching TV like 24 hours, reruns or whatever. I mean, but it was the greatest experience. I mean, I pray really God gave me this chance. Now I'm in New York, the place that I dream about coming, listening to the great music, and I wanted to come to America and look at the plane flying over and say, man, please, can you come down and take me? You know, but now I'm here. So what do I do with it?
And John Martinez, and we got two special guests. We've got Mr. Bakithi Kumalo, and we've got Mr. Garry Cao is his last name. And today we're going to be talking about coming to America. Got anything to say, Chuck?
Well, yeah, Bakithi is a long friend, and I'm just meeting Jerry. Jerry, so much about you. You know, so much about you. I'm very interested in both you guys and the experiences or the experience that you're coming to the United States to play. Language has something to do with it. I mentioned earlier, I've gone to Japan 1 million times. And Japan is one of my favorite places to go to. I like the culture, I like the food. I have many, many friends there. And I performed there a whole lot. And in saying that, I've always thought about wanting to live there. Two things stopped me: earthquakes, and also two, my family, you know, is kind of large here, so I can't do, you know, I can't want to live there. But if I were a bachelor or something, maybe I would. But I do know that the people that I met there in Japan, and the people that I know that are not Japanese, they have to go through certain criteria, understanding about the culture there in order to live there.
Okay.
Also, too, I also realized too that whites or the African Americans that are there, or the Africans. They have a Japanese woman that they're married to, which
Hmm.
sort of kind of helps the cultural thing, um, and language, of course. But so, in thinking about you two guys, I know that you went through a whole lot. And with questions from John, I would like for each of you to share um, what you can about coming here and what it took to come here and what you think about coming here. John, are your questions sort of? I know your questions are long, but
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
asked me if I had something to say, and I just said it.
So Bakithi
Yes.
Kumalo, an incredible bass player from South Africa, who's well known for his work with Paul Simon, Joan Baez, Cyndi Lauper, Herbie Hancock, Tedeschi Trucks Band, Randy Brecker, Grover Washington Jr., and Mickey Hart. Our other guest today is, like I said, Garry Cao from China, who I got to work with on one of my tours there. Garry helped translate, and he opened up all my shows. He's a five-time national drumming champion,
Yeah.
and he's now an incredible drummer. He's now a student studying jazz at the University of North Texas, and which is up the road for me. So I'm kind of like Uncle John. But Garry's got a great future ahead of him. But so we're really interested in getting your perspective on a lot of things. So the first thing is obviously Bakithi. I'd like tell us a little bit about um, growing up in South Africa and what your life was like there, how you got involved in music.
First of all, thank you for having me. Um, yes, I was born in Alexander Township, which is a town about 40 minutes away from Johannesburg city, and another about maybe 50 minutes away from Soweto. So, but then my mother moved me to Soweto when I was about 3 months old to live with my grandmother and my grandfather and my uncle, my aunt. Everybody lives in one room, four-room house. It was chaotic. So I grew up there, and that's where really I started to pay attention because my house was crazy. I mean, like it was a lot of noise between my grandmother with the church, my grandfather running the medicine. He was a medicine man, like to go and get roots and make some medicine for the people to get better. And then my mother also was singing at the church, and my uncle plays saxophone. And my uncle, he's the person that I got very interested, watching him playing all the time. And he brings his friends like weekends, they come home, they practice. And I just love what they were doing. So, and I was little. Actually, when I was about 7 years old, that's when I started to get interested. So I started paying attention, seven, and every year it just got better. And they keep practicing at home. In between that, there was also the system problem that was happening that um, if you don't have papers or you don't have permit, the cops they're gonna take you, and sometimes you never come back because there was some other deals that was happening with the farmers. They take people, arrest people, and put them away and never come back. And it just got really worse and it got scary. And then as I get older, like 10, 11, 12, and I see my uncle, they kind of, confused, and sometimes they're running. And I'm like, why are they running? They get in the house, they hide, they're running away from the police, for some reason because they don't have the correct papers. But it just got really crazy. But between that, there was love. Every weekend, so much music. So many people singing, passing by and singing a cappella songs, or some church people singing church songs and playing the drums, and some traditional, they dress up. Weekend was amazing. And I would sit outside and just listen to that. until until one time my uncle's bass player got so drunk that he couldn't play the gig, and I told my uncle, I said, listen, I can do this. They play the wedding songs, and I said, I can do this gig, and my uncle said, okay, no problem. So I took my uncle's bass player as bass, and then I played the gig. I was terrible, and people loved it because I was a kid. So my uncle is like, you got this, but you got to practice. you know, Practicing without an instrument was very hard. So now I had to go to like every part of the township to look for the music. And I ran away from home. I remember one time I left home for 16 months. I was in Zululand. I joined the band because they had a base. So I go to Zululand. We got stuck in Zululand and I couldn't come home. I couldn't write. We didn't have telephones back then. And Zululand is just like nothing but, the fields, the farms, and, local people. And I spent a lot of time and, ran out of the strings and, everything just got really, really scary. But after 16 months, then I go back home, which is 1974. Then I go back home. Now I was about 14, 15 years old. When I got home, my mother almost killed me.
Was this during apartheid?
Yeah, it's during the apartheid also too, and it's before 1976 when the riots started. I'll come back to that one, June 16. But when I got back home, my mother first denied me. Was like, "No, my son, he died. You're not my son." And everybody, they look at me like, wow, he is your son. He just looked terrible. My hair was like, big and chicken pox. I was skinny. Because I was starving. I couldn't eat well. My mother, she's like, no, 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 my son died. They're like, no, 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 he is your son. And then finally, she was okay with that. And I stay home now. They said, no more music. Do not follow your uncle. You stay here. We're gonna find you a job now. You gotta find a job. And I look at him like, wow, 16 months. I spent so much time. No, I don't think so. Yeah, I'll take the job for a day or two, but. But I just kept wanting to play. And then 1976, 2 years later, and then June 16, and South Africa went on fire. The kids, they went on strike with the riots. They said, no, we're not going to learn Afrikaans. The Dutch language is not our language. We're going to ban everything. We start from the scratch. And also we want Nelson Mandela. It got really so bad that I lost a lot of cousins and nephews. And, it was really bad. But for me, I just never stopped because my game was to say, look, no matter what happened, find the base, find the shield. I call the bass the shield for me because that instrument just saved me from bullets, from everything. And the next thing I was on the jet, business class to come to America.
Wow. What language did you speak there, by the way?
In South Africa, because back then you couldn't go to school to learn the languages. So you learn the languages from the people in the township. And the languages is not just one language, it's a lot of language. I speak about 15 languages. I can communicate with any South Africans. Like any South African, I can communicate with him, and because you gotta ask for cigarette, you gotta ask, for monies.
Right. We're gonna have to come back. We gotta come
Yeah,
because
you
I got
just learn the basics. You learn the basics, and then you can communicate with anybody to have a good day or whatever.
that
Or
as
But
when,
my
or when did the English language?
yes, and then the funny thing, our house, it was like United Nation because my uncle, they bring different people, different tribes. My uncle meets a girl, speak a different languages, and my aunt, my cousins, everybody. So it was, it was crazy. But for me, I just wanted to play music, and listening to Chuck Rainey, just the legends. When I hear the bass, that's when I wanted to really play it because I feel like this is where the bass belongs. And I took chances and until I was discovered by Paul. And when Paul discovered me, I didn't even know who Paul was. First, now before the gig with Paul, I was working as a mechanic. Now because my mother she was getting sick now, so I needed some help so I can get some pills or something to help her. And as I was working as a mechanic, and I got this call to say Paul Simon is looking for me. Man, I was dropping some things. I was so nervous because, and I'm thinking, Paul Simon sounds like a policeman,
Hmm.
you know, because it's an English name. When I hear the English name, that sounds like there's a problem. And uh, and my boss keeps saying, no, Paul Simon is a musician, he's a singer from America. And I'm like, Paul Simon? What song does he sing? Sounds of Silence? I said, no, I don't know that one. Because in the township, we want like happy music, you know. So, but then I took chances and I go to the studio. And when I get to the studio, and uh, and Paul loved everything because somebody gave Paul Simon the original of the traditional stuff that I recorded, with a traditional group, and Paul liked that, and then he wanted to build on that. So I took chances. I went to the studio, and man, at the end of the first session, I was like a king in Africa, in Soweto, because
Yeah.
I got paid. Like everybody knows that I got paid because I went to get my hair done. I got the perm, I got my afro ready to come to America.
Oh,
Man, I tell you, and Paulie says he keeps saying in the studio, when we finish this, we're gonna bring you to New York. And now I'm thinking, oh my God, how am I gonna go to New York without papers? So now I gotta figure out how to get papers, and
But Keithy, the language. How did you get into speaking the language,
English.
English?
Well, I spoke English later. Once I came to New York, then I knew that I'm gonna, this is gonna be, I'm gonna have to learn how to speak because I've never been to school. So a friend of mine in New York was teaching Zulu and English in New York. So he bought me some tapes, like how to say hello, because everything for me was like good morning, good night, thank you. I used to use the clicking for everything. And he says, no, 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 you got to get the tapes that's going to teach you how to say good morning, how are you? And so I learned, on the tapes. And then even when I'm on the plane, I'm sitting in the back of the plane and I'm listening and I'm reading the children's books, English, so that I can communicate. And I had a terrible bass technician from England because I could never understand the guy. I mean, I was struggling to really understand English, but American English was much better, And the guys, they used to break it down so that I can understand. But the guy from England, I mean, I used to run, like when I see him coming to me, I just walk the other way because then I'm like, I don't understand what is he going to say. I don't want to talk to him.
that,
You know,
that's
reminds, that reminds me of my trip, my first trip to Ireland. I spent my whole 3 weeks saying, say that again. And
yeah.
they were speaking English, but I just did not understand anything in Ireland. My first trip.
Mm.
well, Gary. Let's talk to Gary for a second.
Yeah.
Gary, tell us a little bit about how you got involved in drumming. I think it's funny too because I want to talk to you also about how you learned English. But how'd you get involved in drumming?
So for me, because so my father, he was so my father is so he is a drum teacher when I was very young because he used to have a ambition to be a legend drummer in China, but he couldn't get a chance because Chinese, the music in the past in China was kind of poor. So when I born, when I was like 4 years old, I got a chance to learn how to play piano for like 4 years, and then after that, because I was doing bad on school, so my father decided that, hey Gary, you should go to play drum. I was like, what? Because that's kind of other way for Chinese to be successful. Because you know we have a lot of population, we have a lot of people here, so that's why. So when I was in third third grade, I started to learn play drum. So I was taught by my father for like 4 years, and I went to apply for a music middle school in a big city called Tianjin. It's next to Beijing. So they.
So tell everybody where you're from originally.
Sorry.
Where are you from originally?
Oh, I'm from northwest part of China, which is a poor place.
Gansu, right?
Gansu province, yeah. So my town is like tier 5 city. So it's kind of poor. So, and then the first time I applied my middle school, and I failed because I have to pass the test and then get into the school, and I failed. And a lot of my family members, they tell my father, hey, you should not like Gary do this anymore. Just send Gary to to do something else. And my father was like, okay, we're gonna do this one more year, and then we see what happened. So after that year, next year, I finally got into the school, and then I started to work hard to practice every day, to learn, to watch the video from to watch how American drummers play drum set. So it's been like 6 years because I went to middle school and a high school. So 3 years middle school, 3 years high school. Yeah, and then I got a little award, like a little title, but when I got to UNT, I feel like, oh, I'm still so bad on playing drums that I don't have the understanding of drumming, of music. So that's just that's how I think. What should I learn? It's understanding of music.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you felt like you knew how to play drum set, but not really how to play songs. Not really.
Yeah, like I think I have ability to play, but when I play with a band, especially play with jazz musician, I'm like, what should I do? That's my first year of UNT. So this is my second year. I'm getting a little better now. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you learn how to speak English?
I learned so all Chinese students learn English when they were in primary school. So, but not a lot of students, they know how to speak English very well, because it's just like kind of optional classes English, but what I really learned how to speak English is a year before I came to the US. I went to UK to learn British accent for 1 year, because I was trying to go to the UK.
That's why I wanted you to say, because Bakithi was talking about the English guy. I was like, oh, that's funny, because he spent a year in Leeds, and that's not even normal London accent. That's like the Northern English accent, which is
it's just so different. It's just so different. I don't like British accent. I don't understand it. It just, as you said, as Cheng and Camilo, right? Is that how to pronounce your name?
Kumalo.
Sorry?
Bakithi.
Oh, sorry, Mr.
Bakithi.
Bakithi. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, when you guys talk about the British accent, I was like, yeah, I feel that. I feel that.
And then the worst thing, living, the British, we had to start the Graceland rehearsal in London for 5 months. My God, I wanted to go home so bad because, I'm like, and it was terrible. It was like winter, raining all the time, no sun. And all the Africans, they have a meeting to say, where is the sun? I mean, like, where's the sun every day for a week? We don't see the sun. And then every week, I mean,
In England in the winter, the sun, I mean, it's nighttime all the time.
oh my God.
It's,
Although there's no sun, the grass is very green. The landscape is beautiful.
Oh, the island is unbelievable. I mean, like,
No sun.
so green.
Okay, Gary, what Gary was saying about English.
Yeah.
You said before a year before you came here.
Oh yeah, I was going. So I was trying to go to a school called the College of Music in Leeds, City. So I learned English there for like 7 months because I had to pass a test called IELTS, which is a English certification in order to go to study abroad. Then it was pretty funny. So I got a call from a teacher, Mr. Lee, which is NIBI's principal now, and he's like, "Okay, Gary, you gotta go UNT. Apply now." What? Should I apply now? But I already got into that, the music school in Leeds. I'm like, should I? And my school, my teacher is like, yeah, go apply now. Go contact Mr. John Martinez. They will help you. I was like, okay, I'll go there. That's like how Chinese, students listen to their, elders' opinion or suggestion. Yeah, that's how we do that. But finally, I'm glad I didn't go to Leeds. I'm here. I'm so happy to be here.
Probably Mr. Lee definitely is. I respect him a whole lot, and we visited UNT when he came here, and UNT is very. If you're going to go to college, UNT is very impressive.
Yes.
Very impressive campus. So like, glad you're here. My best to you. John, go ahead.
yeah, man. So my next question was for Bakithi is what did you expect when you came to America, and did it match your expectations?
My friend, I tell you something. It was great on the plane. I mean, like, it was an excitement, getting on the plane for the first time. Business class is like, whoa, wait a minute. I love America. Before we get to America, we didn't know. I mean, like, we're going to be on the plane for 17 hours, first of all. So the plane was nice and, drinking and really nice. You sleep, you wake up, they give you breakfast, and then you go back to sleep, dinner, and you wake up, you're still flying. Great. And then as soon as we got to JFK, they had a limousine for us. We've never seen a limousine. We come from the township. So now when they tell us to go to the limousine, we kind of speak the language, like, wait a minute, why they put us in a hearse? This is for when, and then the guy comes out with a black suit. We're like, what? Show me the train or the bus or something, not this, They convince us, the roadman, and he was cold too. So they convince us, the roadman, and he's like, no, It's a limousine. It's got the alcohol, and he opens the door. Man, we saw the bar. We jump in, But then he was a whole different thing. I didn't expect. It's nice when you see, especially New York. I thought New York was the whole America, first of all. I didn't think like Iowa or Idaho. There's other place called America in here. No, no. I thought New York was America. So when we get to New York, it was loud. I mean, the cabs, yellow cabs, people, and the way people are walking on the side of there's like an order. You can't just walk like anywhere. So we were doing like the tango dancing, bumping into people, looking at the buildings, tall buildings, things that I've never seen before. I mean, it was a crazy excitement. And we go to the hotel, confusion. I've never seen a shower, I mean, like it was like coming to school, like now we gotta learn all these things, and yeah, it was unbelievable, really unbelievable. And then I remember when we checked in the hotel. So our road manager guy, he's like educating us how to cross the street, where we have to look, because it's one way that way, the other way. So look which side and be careful, don't be hit by the car. Man, I it was the greatest experience, and especially in New York. I mean, I used to love the city by seeing it in the movies and just like because it's so similar to Johannesburg. Johannesburg is a big city. That's why for me also the transition was much easier to come to the city because I can adjust. It takes like a day or two, but then I know how to get pizza. But funny thing about coming to New York, 4 o'clock in the morning you can get a pizza. In South Africa, 4 o'clock everybody's sleeping. 8 o'clock the TV you see like the lines, nothing. But in New York, man, I remember I was watching TV like 24 hours, reruns or whatever. I mean, but it was the greatest experience. I mean, I pray every day. I said, God, really, God gave me this chance. Now I'm in New York, the place that I dream about coming, listening to the great music, and I wanted to come to America and look at the plane flying over and say, man, please, can you come down and take me? But now I'm here. So what do I do with this?
Oh yeah,
I had to step up my game.
Y'all ain't gonna believe this, but Steve Ferrone is logging in.
Steve is here?
This is hilarious.
He's
Oh,
here?
this is
I want to show him a picture. Me and Ferrone in the studio long time ago, and I was late in the session. And then when I show up, Steve, he says, "Yeah, that's why you have a problem in Africa."
Steve, Steve, we can only see the top of your head, my brother. There you go. And we can't see you because there's no light on you.
Where is in Africa, Steve?
No, Steve is in Los Angeles, I think. Yeah, he is in Los Angeles.
Can't hear him either.
Can't hear you either. John, help him out.
I think, yeah.
It just muted itself.
Ah,
Sometimes it does that. For
I
some
see.
reason.
How are you, my brother?
I'm good. I thought it was 7:30 tonight, and I just looked at it, and then I just saw an email. I was looking for the address to come to, and then I saw the email, and it said Central Standard Time. So I'm sorry I'm late.
No problem. John, introduce him. John, do you know Bakithi, don't you? I mean,
Yes, I do.
there you go.
Steve, hello, my friend.
How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Last time I saw you is when we were doing a session with Paul Jackson, and back in the day.
I
just saw a picture of Nipsey Russell.
Yeah, that was, why that they call this the Hollywood
There you
Squares
go.
sometimes.
There you go.
So I was on a meeting. I was on a meeting with a bunch of people, and this guy had Paul Lind. So I got Nipsey Russell.
That's awesome. Well, everyone,
I thought you're not going to get away with that.
let me introduce you to Steve Ferrone for everyone that's.
Oh Jesus, my turtles! I just scared the hell out of my turtles.
Steve, it looks like you're riding a horse. There you go. You just sat down. Well,
I just had to walk into my office.
All right. Well, Mr. Steve Ferrone is a real honor to have you here. He's a drummer that's well known for having played with Tom Petty, Duran Duran, the Average White Band, Shaka Khan, George Harrison, Eric Clapton, Keb Mo, and Dave Sanborn. Amazing to have you on here. And it's funny, we were just talking about cats with British accents.
I don't have I don't. You have an accent. I speak English with the Queen's English. Unlike all you guys, I don't know.
We just got through talking about the Queen's English.
Right.
Well, none of you were speaking it probably.
True. True.
How are you dealing with the? How are we all dealing with the COVID year?
Well, I'm doing fine. I don't mind it at all. I got 2 back porches.
Yeah.
I'm just cool. I stay at home. I do what I'm got. If I do go out, my gloves, and I wear a mask. So far I'm cool. I don't mind it.
I had to go to Hawaii last week to do a podcast. Not a podcast. It was to do a documentary. It was a Canadian company doing a documentary on drummers.
Mm.
And so there's this thing where 72 hours. You have to have a negative test 72 hours before you travel.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of awkward enough to figure out to time it. So I traveled on the Sunday, so I had the test on the Friday, and I get to Hawaii, and there was no test. So they say to me, okay, fine, you can come in. You can come in and we go into quarantine, and as soon as you get your result, you just upload it onto the site, and we let you in. 36 hours later, still have nothing. I got my test, and we uploaded. I got to the hotel. 10 minutes after I got to the hotel, I got the good result. That I was clear. And then I was 36 hours waiting to get freed up, and I was writing letters and sending. I had 2 tests that were clear, and I sent them both off. They accepted one of them, but they won't accept the other one from somewhere else. But I just got 2 of them just to make a 24-hour one, just to make sure that they knew that I was actually clear, right? Mm-hmm. And I wrote everything, tried to get an exemption from it, uploaded the good thing, filled out forms twice, answered every question that they had, got rejected. They wouldn't do it. So finally I wrote a letter, and I told them that I was a disc jockey on Tom Petty Radio, and that I was going to tell my thousands of listeners just how bad the Hawaiian government was. 5 minutes later, they called me. Oh, we're so sorry, and they let me in. It was a mess.
Quite a story. John, why don't you introduce Steve and Gary?
Oh, well. Gary is on here as well. He's a drummer from China. He's the 5-time drumming champion. He's now a student at the University of North Texas. He's an amazing musician who I got to have on tour with me last summer. And Gary, I think you just heard my introduction. He's a legend, studio drummer legend.
Where are you from in China?
Sabian artist.
Hi, sir. I'm from northwest from China, so northwest. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I've been to China.
Oh, where? Beijing?
I've been all over. I got on one of those. They have the best trains in the world in China. I went all over the place. Where exactly I went, I really couldn't tell you. But
Okay.
but I was there. I was there for about 2 weeks with Nathan East, and I had a ball.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Actually, all three of us are Sabian artists, I believe.
Oh, really?
There, we
Oh,
all
yeah.
got the Sabian family. So we've been talking about coming to America, and so tell us a little bit about your experience coming, Steve, if you would, and how it may or may not have matched your expectations, what you thought about.
Steve,
Huh.
Stephen, before you answer that question, can I say something about
Sure.
my? Now I've been knowing Steve for a long, long time. We both have gotten gray. In fact, I'm not fat anymore, by the way. But
Really?
you told me, but you told me one time, many years ago, that the city you came up in England, you were the only black person in town.
That's great.
And then you continue to tell me a lot. I just wanted just to say that that's got to be really extraordinary to be the only person of color in a town. So I'll stop there and let you.
Yeah. I was. Yeah, absolutely. I was. And you know, I didn't even realize that I was different until I went to see. I think I was probably like maybe 4 or 5 years old, and my parents took me to see a close harmony group from New York called the Deep River Boys. I don't know if you ever heard of them. They were very popular on Radio Luxembourg, and they came to our local town, local theater, and they were the headliners of the variety show that week, and we went and saw them. And I'd never heard music like that. They were they were singing spirituals, you know, and they just had a song called Lucky Black Cat that was a big hit, and they were just really, really, really good. And I was a little kid. I'd never heard music like this, and I was just dancing, and people in the audience were taking notice and looking at this little kid that was sitting up on the side, just going crazy to this music. They sent out their I guess it would be their tour manager to take me backstage to go and meet them, and I remember hanging out with them back there, and I said to them, I said, boy, I wish I could be colored like you used to say colored back then, because it was rude to say black. And Harry Douglas, who was a very wise man, said to me, he said, well, I tell you, I'm going to cast a spell when you go back home. I want you to look in when you wake up tomorrow morning, you go look in the mirror and you'll see that you're going to be the same color as we are. And that's, I woke up in the morning and went and looked in the mirror and, wow, it worked. Fantastic. That's about it. But that was just my experience there living there. I mean, there were no other black people. I mean, probably up in London there were, I guess. I never saw any, but we never travelled up to London. It was only 50 miles away, but in England, 50 miles is a big trip. It's a big deal. But you know, I first came to the United States in 1973. Brian Auger asked me to come and play. And I'd been living in France, in the south of France, for 3 years before that. And I've been going to music school, and I thought I was kind of ready for the United States. And I mean, I think we used to study guys like Chuck. We used to study Purdy and all the Motown musicians, the guys from the Snake Pit. We used to listen to those guys growing up. So I really wanted to be in America, because they seemed to have even though England was very creative, it was like they seemed to have a handle on playing stuff in the United States that was different from the way that musicians worked in England. And so or in Europe, actually, in the whole of Europe. And so I got offered, Brian Auger called me up and asked me if I could come to the United States. And I said, yeah, I'd love to. And he said, you got 3 days. So I quit my job in the south of France, got somebody to replace me, sold all my stuff that was there in 3 days, got on the plane, flew to London, had a quick rehearsal, and then I found myself in New York, and just looking at all those skyscrapers and those big buildings, and we stayed in a hotel on 53rd Street, and I think there was a place called the New York Jazz Museum back in those days up there, and I remember going over there, and people were just in there playing on a Sunday afternoon, free concert. There was an energy to New York City that I'd never felt anything like that before. I just loved it. I just had the greatest time, and we were just there for a few days, and then we went up to Boston and we played in a club called Paul's Mall on Boylston Street, and we played there, and then we drove from Boston to Los Angeles to go and play a gig at the Whiskey A Go Go.
All right, so for anyone who doesn't know, that's like a 3,000-mile drive.
Yeah, we did it. We had like 3 of those, or two or three of those great big old station wagons, you know, with our stuff in the back, and because none of us had been to America before, and we wanted to see it, so we thought we'd drive. There really wasn't much to see until we got to Denver. And then when we got to Denver, there was the Rocky Mountains, and I remember we were driving up on this freeway, and there was a great huge elk standing right by the side of the freeway, and I remember seeing that, and there seemed to be a lot more to see, even going through the desert, because I'd never seen a desert before, and that was really interesting. And we got to Vegas. I remember going into we stopped at a gas station, and there was a slot machine in the gas station, and I put in a quarter and I won $2 silver. And I still have one of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I have probably done that. I've been to Vegas many times.
Yeah.
And I've lost $10. Every time I go, I put one in, and if I don't win, I'm leaving.
Right.
I've never won anything. I've seen a lot of people win though. I've never won anything. I'm not a gambler at all.
It was incredible. It was an incredible experience, Chuck, for somebody, you know, because like I said, in England, you know, a 50-mile trip the trip up to London was a big deal. It was 50 miles. It's an hour on the train. But for us, it was like 50 miles was a long way away, you know. And America was, you know, 3,000 miles from one side to the other, and we did that. You know, it took us I think 4 days to do it, something like that.
Yep,
and
4 days, 5 nights.
Yeah, and yeah, and we just went across, and there was so much different stuff to see. Like I say, you know, you got the first bit, you know, when you're going to I guess through Ohio, Pennsylvania, Ohio. It's just freeway and it's green fields. Farmlands, you know, until you hit the Rocky Mountains, and then it starts to get really, really, really different. And then, of course, once you got to Tinseltown, back to Los Angeles, that was a whole different experience too. You know, just the clubs and the way people were. There was always talk about the freedom of America, and it did. Everything seemed so liberated. Just everybody was just having a good time. It was fun. You know, people liked each other. People were just sort of mingling and hanging out and listening to great music, and it was really, really, really exciting. And then it was a pretty short trip, but I think we played just like a couple of nights, and I made good friends with Mario, who was one of the owners of the whiskey, and then I went back to England for a few months, and then we came over again, and we did it again, and it was just fantastic. This time we hit we did a little bit of this we went down to Florida. I had a strange experience, something that I'd never experienced before in Florida. As I went to we played in a club it was in Orlando. I don't even remember the name of the club, but we played and it was the club closed early, and it was a dry county, you know, so that we wanted to go out to another club, and they said there's a bottle bar, so you take your own bottle, and then they serve you the mixes and they play music, and it was a club. And we went to this club, and some of the waitresses from the club came with us, and there was this party sort of in the club, and everybody's sitting around drinking and talking and laughing and listening to music, and somebody started to put on a James Brown record, and I said to this waitress, I said, do you want to dance? And she said, yeah. So we were up there and we were dancing. I got a tap on my shoulder, and I turned around, and there was this guy, and he said to me, he said, hey, no mixed dancing.
What?
I said, I beg your pardon? He said, I said no mixed dancing. And I looked over at the bar, and there was a cop standing there, and he was kind of looking at me a bit sideways, you know, so I quickly surmised that the situation wasn't going to end up too well for me, and I decided to do something about this guy, you know. So I asked him if I could mix my drinks, and he said, you can mix anything you want, just no mixed dancing. Wow. And that was welcome to Florida.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Hey everyone, my name is Jerry Robert, and I'm the publisher at Black Card Books, and I'm telling you, we have just published this book, The Tune of Success, Unmasking Your Genius, by two musical geniuses who have played bass and played drums and contributed to lots of different albums, playing with Steely Dan, Quincy Jones, Aretha Franklin. I mean, these are two legends in the music industry, and if you've ever wondered about how you break into the music, it's a business. It goes well beyond just talent. It's a business. This book will help you do it, and there's no book like it, and that's why we at Black Card Books could not be happier to have published this book. And if you are interested, or you know somebody who's interested in the music business, get yourself a copy and get them a copy right away. Guys, we are all excited about this. We know this is going to become an international bestseller, and it's going to help a lot of people go to the next level in the music business.